$500 investment experiment. After having a pretty poor week on June 27th of 2026, we did rebound. Four of the funds rebounded nicely and are still under $500, but we did sit there and rebound from having a poor week, and everybody is still pretty much behind where they were on 6/20, which was a good week. But overall, what we ended up finding out is large cap, mid cap, and small cap had an okay week last week and rebounded. And VOO, the benchmark 100% S&P 500, it had the largest jump back last week of $11.86. But you see, everybody here, Grow My Money, had a return of $6 last week. The American had a return of $6.45. Retirement Guy had a return of $3.96. And Steady Eddie had a return of $1.85. And that came through VTI. VTI actually performed better last week over the multi-factor actively managed fund. So that was sort of a win for passive funds last week that VTI outperformed. But as we go back, we see the S&P 500 rebounded from the previous week, and that gives them 2 times in the 5 weeks that we have been in the market that the benchmark has sat there and had the biggest return growth for the week. We still have Steady Eddie leading the way at $504.05, and that a lot of that is being driven by the actively managed fund, the multi-factor with Vanguard. But last week, like I mentioned, large cap, mid cap, and small cap had a nice rebound, and bonds sort of underperformed or just broke even. They didn't really do a lot. But overall, now that all the funds were in the market for the month of June, we find out that only one of them is Steady Eddie has actually made more than the initial investment of $500 and has made $4.05 over that. The 4 other funds have all made less than the initial investment, and part of that is because large caps sort of underperformed in the month of June in looking back on things. And even though small cap, mid cap, and international stocks did okay, they still weren't enough to carry, since all of these portfolios have a heavy influence on large cap or even the overall market, which is VTI, which covers the total US market. But the funds that sort of held in there were ones that did have international funds inside them, like the Retirement Guy that has ticker symbol VXUS, and then we have the Grow My Money with the ticker symbol for international developed markets of VEA, and those sort of helped to bring those 2 portfolios to try and keep them as close as they can to the initial investment of $500. So hopefully in the month of July, we'll find that everything will start to move forward and everyone will start to break even, and we'll continue to see how the actively managed funds and Steady Eddie go against the passively managed funds and Steady Eddie, the multi-factor versus the total stock market with the VTI. Thank you for checking in on the $500 investment experiment, and I look forward to seeing how these funds do in the long run.